I'm doing that announcement and I'll do it.
Because it's silly. Silly to have to go up and down the aisle.
Okay.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome in person and to the online congregation. I'm Jim Reynolds. This morning on Zoom, Jan Power is our chat host today, so if you have any questions, she will be here online for you. Thank you, Jan. We have hearing assist headphones. If you need them, please see an usher, and they will be happy to help you out with those. If you need any help with an elevator, there are elevators through the door to the left of the pulpit. They'll help you get up and down the stairs. All of the bathrooms have accessible stalls in them. Today we have a guest preacher. Lynn Ford is a seminarian at Meadville Lombard Theological School. Thank you, Lynn, for joining us today. We're glad you're here this morning. We're grateful to all of you for taking care of this community. To keep us all safer, masks must be worn inside the building, unless you're standing here in the pulpit. Also, social distance, please, anytime you can. Our worship leaders, our choir, all the teachers are vaccinated. We strongly encourage vaccination for everyone who's medically able. This is how we care for ourselves and for one another. To sing or not to sing is your choice. The choir, when we have one, hums along and sings one anthem. Today, instead, we have Pam Schwepp, who is lead soloist in the choir, and she will sing for us. We have the closing hymn. You are welcome to sing or to hum for that, also for Spirit of Life and for Find a Stillness. We have windows open to improve the ventilation, so please bundle up as needed. We want to remind you, please, to stay at home if you're not feeling well, even if you think it's just a cold. If you or a family member is tested positive for COVID, please call the office or email a member of the church staff. And if there's been a COVID exposure at church, we will let the congregation know. And together, we covenant to reduce the risk of COVID with everyone doing his or her part. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you today. Come into this sacred space of love and justice. Come into this community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come, and you shall know peace and joy. This is the first Sunday in Advent, the time of waiting for Christmas, waiting for Jesus. We light our first Advent candle, a candle of peace. By doing so, we wish peace for people everywhere. And now we light our chalice. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. The reading for today is They Are With Us Still by Kathleen McTeague. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, their hearts. We take them with us, and with them, choose the deeper path of living.
Please join me in the responsive reading. I will read the Roman type. Pam will lead you in the italic responses. It's number 440. From the fragmented world of our everyday lives, we gather together in search of wholeness.
By many cares and preoccupations, by diverse and selfish aims, are we separated from one another and divided within ourselves.
Yet we know that no branch is utterly severed from the tree of life that sustains us all.
We cherish our oneness with those around us and the countless generations that have gone before us.
We would hold fast to all of good that we inherit, even as we would leave behind us the outworn and the false.
We would escape from bondage to the ideas of our own day and from the delusions of our own fancy.
Let us labor and hope that the dawning of a new day without hatred, violence, and injustice.
Let us nurture the growth in our own lives of the love that is shown in the lives of the greatest of men and women, the rays of whose lamps still illumine our way.
In this spirit we gather. In this spirit we pray.
The only link I had to my past growing up was my maternal grandmother. Every summer, my parents would make the drive from Syracuse to Rochester, New York, with all 5 of us in the car, and I'm the oldest of 5. My sister and I got to stay with Grandma for a week. I absolutely loved staying with her. It got me out of the tension-filled house that I was growing up in. My dad had anger management issues. I got to see my cousin, who was the same age as me. We would play badminton and croquet in Grandma's big yard. In the evenings, we would sit on her sun porch, and she would tell stories about Grandpa, who fought in World War I and died in 1963, and about friends and relatives long gone. I always dreaded going back home. My relationship to my grandmother was so precious to me. The book Grandmothers Counsel the World by Carol Schaefer tells us how Indigenous peoples believe that everything is sacred, and at the heart of everything is relationship. Science has finally proven what Indigenous peoples have known since time immemorial. We are all connected. Thinking that we are separate from one another and from Mother Earth is an illusion. So it behooves us to be in right relation to each other and to the environment. The traditional greeting of the Lakota people is Mitokyo Yasi, which means all my relations. We are all meant to live in peace in this world. The basis for healthy relationships in a single family is the same for healthy relationships between nations, which is love and unity and a reverence for all life. Unfortunately, the family unit is being undermined and is disintegrating. We become overwhelmed and are susceptible to the dark forces of fear. We isolate ourselves from each other, losing our ability to understand one another. Our society is falling into disorder. The pandemic, of course, has served to accelerate this trend. What can we do? We can slow down and simplify our lives. So many people treat time as their enemy, saying, "Oh, there aren't enough hours in the day," or "I don't have time to take a walk." When the truth is, time is our friend. As the Rolling Stones sang, "Time is on my side, yes it is." The elders among us can teach us to slow down and take time to nurture ourselves and our families. When we strengthen the family unit, we strengthen the whole human race. We are then nourished by our connection to all of human awareness. We learn to respect what can be learned from the great diversity of humanity. However, today we have generations of children whose grandparents are television or video games. In older cultures, such as those of Indigenous peoples, the extended family was the primary unit of society. There was daily interaction, building strong relationships between the youngest babies and the oldest elders. Interdependence was encouraged. Family members felt safe, loved, and heard. In order to have a rich culture, we must have strong connections between the old and the young. We must honor our elders and our ancestors. As we age, we hopefully grow in wisdom and knowledge. Old age, therefore, is a treasure trove of history, personal, family, national, and world history. If young people aren't listening to the stories of the elders, it is lost. My boyfriend Tarn's father would say, "The saddest thing when people die is that their stories die with them." Tarn told me he regrets that his father didn't spend more time with him sharing his stories. The elders know where every idea arose out of and why. They know what it really means to be family, to be citizens, to be free, to be enslaved. They have experienced the difference between evolution and revolution, and they know there is space for both of these conditions to exist in the world. When elders tell their stories, it becomes the catechism of the family. It becomes a living history that strengthens family ties. Having stories to tell is the essence of aging. The stories of old people validate that events in the past really did happen. They help us discern what will be true for us all. When elders don't tell their stories with honesty, misconceptions arise. When grandfathers tell of the glories of war and not of the horrors, Young ones adopt the lie that war is glorious. When grandmothers tell of the pain of having babies, but none of the rewards, girls end up not wanting children, even though I have 2 children now. When we don't listen to the stories being handed down to us, we miss the opportunity to learn life's lessons. We then end up learning them the hard way. As Alice Walker wrote, "To acknowledge our ancestors means we are aware that we did not make ourselves." Funeral ceremonies, the burying of ancestors, became a ritual that preserved the elements of the past in meaningful, sacred ways. They reminded the community of their relationships to both life and death. Telling the stories of those who have passed away has the effect of making the family a bridge between both past and future. Many people invoke their ancestors through ritual and prayer. Prayer is a conversation in which a relationship is established. The more we have the conversation, the stronger our relationship is to our ancestors. The nature of human beings is that we grow, we evolve, we connect more strongly in relationship with ourselves, with each other, our world, and our sense of spirit. Rituals have been used to help humans make connections throughout human history. However, our world is so much more complex today that the rituals handed down to us no longer meet our personal and spiritual needs. There is a great need for personalized and meaningful rituals in people's lives. Bringing rituals into our lives empowers us. Rituals bring tradition and a sense of relatedness. They provide a sense of balanced perspective that improves our lives. Rituals can also help us weather difficulties. I started a women's sacred singing circle in my home church a couple of years before entering seminary, so that was about almost 5 years ago. We started every circle with a ritual. We had an altar, we lit candles, I rang a singing bowl, and we sang the same opening song each time, "Rise Up, O Flame." The ritual served to create sacred space and enhanced everyone's experience. The following poem was written by Tarn's maternal great-grandfather to Tarn's mother. This was written in 1934. "To My Daughter" by Joseph Alred. Dear daughter of the great dark eyes, my elfin daughter, Sarah Lou, with love that's deep and high and wise, I write this little book for you. Perhaps in the far days to come, when you've to woman's stature grown, you'll read again these simple lines and think, these are my very own. When you've a daughter like yourself, and I'll not be there to see, you'll take it from the shelf and say, my daddy wrote this book for me. And then you'll read aloud to her with a little sadness overcast, and the echo of your voice will seem a whisper from the happy past. When you and I and one beloved walk with joyous feet astir, before I too had gone away to sleep the long, long sleep with her. But take it now for what it's worth, O daughter of the wide dark eyes. I shall be paid if your dear heart beats faster with a pleased surprise. It is my hope and prayer that you bring more ritual into your life, that by invoking the ancestors, you will establish connection and stronger relationships, bringing transformation and healing to yourself, your family and friends, your community, our country, and the world. And tell a story to a young person today when you go home. So the reflection question for today is, imagine that an ancestor from your family's past is standing in front of you. What message do they have for you that would help you in dealing with the challenges of today? So you may turn and talk about it to someone near you. And I'll start the sharing. One more minute? All right.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for that wonderful sermon and reflection question. And today's anthem by Theodore Chandler continues on that theme with a whimsical look at the way one generation feeds off the one before it. It's called Grandma. Grandma is old, and she does not like the cold. She prefers the spring and summer to the fall, and the winter she prefers the least of all. Grandma's hair is white, and she loves to sit in her rocking chair, and knit and talk, and almost rock, and see you dimly with her poor eyesight. Grandma says that God is good, but that his ways are odd and not often understood. But after she has taken a cookie from the shelf and given it to you and smiled, you know that she herself was once a little child and had a grandma too.
Thank you, that was beautiful. So I offer to you a ritual for planetary healing. There is so much fear in the world, and a ritual like this feels more and more important to do. So first, I'm going to set the intention to restore the earth, the environment, and all living things to a state of health. And I'm going to invoke spirit of life and any ancestors that wish to help us at this time. So I'd like you to get into a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you wish. And focus on your breath. Breathing in for a count of 3, breathing out for a count of 4. And do that a few times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it a couple more times. So, if you would, place your awareness on your heart. Imagine that you are very, very small, so small that you can go down into your heart. As you enter your heart, you see a small flame in the center. That is your divine spark. And because what we focus on grows, your flame starts growing. It gets bigger and bigger until it fills the entire chamber of your heart. Now imagine your light growing beyond your heart, filling your chest, your head, your abdomen, your legs, until you are totally filled with the white light of your divine spark. Imagine that this light is healing all of your wounds and imbalances. See yourself well and whole. Now imagine your light connecting to the light of the people around you, now filling the sanctuary, now going out into the neighborhood, the town, the state, the country, and the world. So now the world is full with all the divine light from this sanctuary. Bring to mind people or places that need healing, such as world leaders, global areas of strife or injustice, pollution. Imagine them as they are now. Then imagine them the way they could be, well and whole. We ask that this healing light be sent out into the universe to be used where it might best be of service. We give thanks to Spirit and the ancestors for their help today. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes. Each week, you share the milestones of your lives during worship, so you may hold each other in care. This week, none of you have shared joys or sorrows, but I know that many of us in these troubled times are thinking of others or holding hope or sadness for ourselves today. Who else is in your hearts today? I invite you to call their names aloud or type them into the chat now. Please feel free to hum along if you'd like. Sorry.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Dear Spirit of life, help us to know that you are holding us in your love through the suffering of our sorrows and the happiness of our joys. We ask that you bring to our hearts more peace, more harmony, more joy. Help us to strengthen our relationships with our families and our ancestors so that each family unit becomes stronger in order to heal our society and the world. Amen. May it be so. Let's take this next minute for silent meditation or personal prayer.
Find the stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find a true harmony.
Our Share the Plate recipient for November is kiva.org, Kiva.org, an international nonprofit that serves as a clearinghouse for microloans to people around the world who otherwise lack the resources to improve their lives. More than 1.7 billion people around the world are unbanked and unable to have access to traditional loans. With a Kiva loan of just $25, First Parish can help students pay for tuition, women start businesses, farmers invest in equipment, and families afford needed emergency care. 100% of every dollar lent goes to funding the loans. Make a loan, change a life. We're not going to pass the plate this week, so please, on your way out, be sure that if you have a chance to make a donation, please do that. Please also know that you can make a donation on your phone. We're moving on. Okay, the worship sharing circle today will be led by Dana and Jim Snyder-Grant in the Ripley Room. Coffee hour will be outside. Please mask when you cannot social distance. The welcome table at coffee hour will have a member of the standing committee representing it so that you can ask questions if you have any questions about how we run the church. This week, I am that member. Also, we will have the cards table, as always, if you want to send cards to let various members of the parish know that you are thinking of them. And now we'll have our closing hymn. It's number 350, The Ceaseless Flow of Endless Time.
The ceaseless flow of endless time, no one can check or stay. Review the past with no regret, nor future with dismay. The present sinks into the past, and dreamlike melts away. The breaking of tomorrow's dawn begins anew today. The past and future ever meet in the eternal law, to make each day a thing complete shall be our new year vow.
Beloveds, go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings.